Hi everyone, in this video we are discussing section B of paper 4 of A-Levels English, and the section is named as Language and the Self, which means how language allows us to communicate our sense of self to others and how we use language both consciously and unconsciously to construct and maintain social identities. Let me show you what kind of questions are given in section B of paper 4. This text is an article written by a professor of medicine. Here you must have an understanding that this text is written by some specialist, which means that this text may have a different kind of register. Register means the words, vocabulary that we ordinary people do not use in our conversations. Another key idea here is discuss. You have a good discussion when you know more than what is discussed in this article. And the main content that is discussed here is language can shape and reflect how individuals think. It means language can shape our thoughts. Who has given this idea, who has given this theory, and who is the theorist? You must have an understanding of these two things as well. So you know that Sapir-Whorf Hypothesis, it tells you this idea that language can shape our thoughts. Here, before reading the article, you have an understanding that you're going to discuss Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, and second thing is the different kind of register used by the people of medicines. Another question talks about the same idea here. It's a text taken from online magazine, and the word discuss. Your discussions will show to the examiner your wider study of language and the self, and the idea discussed here is the relationship between language and thought. It is the same idea as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, like language can shape our thoughts. If it is given as a relationship between language and thought, or the question is given on language can shape our thoughts, it is the same hypothesis. Another question here is an article taken from CBC website. And here the topic and the discussion is language can shape and reflect personal and social identity. Just think of all the personal traits in you that makes you different from others. For example, my voice, the way I'm speaking, my accent, it is something personal. So think of all such characteristics that could shape your identity in front of others. The next question displays the same idea here, and it's an article by linguist, that is John McWhorter, and the discussion is about language can shape and reflect personal and social identity, means think of all the characteristics, all such characteristics that makes you different from others and that shapes your identity in front of the whole world. Look at the first question here. It is an article by professor of medicine. And what we are looking at, language can shape and reflect how individuals think. It means here we are discussing Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. So before reading the whole text, we must have an understanding what does Sapir-Whorf hypothesis say. Edward Sapir is known as the father of American linguistics, and one of his students, that is Benjamin Lee Whorf, he gave an idea of linguistic relativity. So they didn't even work together on this idea, but the idea they presented is known as Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. This hypothesis has two versions. One is the stronger version and one is the weak version. The strong version of this hypothesis says that language determines the thought, and the weaker version says language influences the thought. In this article, first we are going to highlight all the important aspects that are needed to be discussed in the responses. So the title says, is it time to call a truce in the battle against disease? So the word battle, our obsession with warlike language means the words which we are using in medicines is related to war. So may unconsciously limit our creativity in finding new treatment. Here the most important thing to be discussed is this nanomedicine metaphor. What is nanomedicine? Nanomedicine means nano, the word nano means small tools or the machines that are used in medicine. So it is a kind of register here. It is a register used in the field of medicine. And metaphor, what is metaphor? Metaphor basically is that when we compare two different things and consider them as one. So without using the words like and as. So we are comparing, basically in this article, we are comparing the field of medicine as a battlefield, which is not right according to this writer, because medicine is a constructive element, whereas a battle is a destructive element. So we are using most of the words from war in the field of medicine, like this: targeting, stealth, nanoparticles, smart bomb, elimination, triggered, release, stealth, death. These words are mostly used in the field of medicine, which has nothing to do with the battlefield. We are not the soldiers in the battlefield. We are curing people, and we are giving them a cure. So it is not a destructive element as such. Next point we discuss here is the language and semantics of war. It means that the words, the vocabulary used in war, and the semantics means the meanings. It means the concepts of war are commonly used to describe approach in the medical treatments. Means we are using the language, the words, and the meanings of war in the medical treatments. And then it says, first of all, there are frequent wars. So again, the word war here, wars on different diseases, means we are considering different diseases as a battle, as a war is going on. Are declared by the politician, but more importantly, I think it is our instinctive psychological need to eradicate. Again, the word eradicate diseases when it occurs. In these wars, again and again, the word wars used. There are good guys. Another concept is here now, that is good guys and the bad guys. So, and the theater of battle is this theater of battle is our body. In these situations, when the disease has been diagnosed, Hollywood analogies and simplistic interpretations about good and bad may be inaccurate, but they do seem appropriate and convincing. So the next point here is that even in pathology, what is pathology? Pathology is a study that what causes the diseases. Modern medicine increasingly consider the disease to be part of our body, often leading to successful treatment, not by eradication. Okay, now the science has proved that we cannot fight with the diseases by eliminating and eradicating them, the bad tissues. We should, or the disease tissues, but by holistic management of the chronic condition. The case of HIV therapeutics, it means how we can heal this disease, is perhaps the brightest example of such revisionist thinking, which has transformed the disease from the death sentence in the early years after its discovery to a non-lethal chronic infection today. Next paragraph, the question I keep asking myself since I read the article about war metaphors, so this is important for you, that is war metaphors. In nanomedicine, so metaphor means the different, the word from the different field is compared with another field. So we are comparing two fields here, that the field of medicine and the battlefield. So has been whether we are using terminology in the simplistic, single-minded manner that could stifle, this is the new point here, it could stifle creative and out-of-the-box thinking. Means if we keep on using the same warlike language in the field of medicine, it will hinder our creativity and out-of-box thinking. We can never think bigger if we are considering the medicine as a battle going on. We cannot bring some constructive element there if we are using the destructive vocabulary in our daily life. For example, if we have negativity in our conversation, in our day-to-day conversation, then we are feeding our thoughts with the negative words. If we have positivity with us, if we deliver positive words in the daily day-to-day life, then automatically our brain gets the positive signals from us. The way we think, okay, the way we think and talk about medicine, even within the scientific community, can be counterproductive for finding ways to manage disease that offer patients a longer and healthier standard of living. Perhaps a lot of my colleagues should be thinking twice next time they describe their inventions as smart bombs. Definitely, when we are bringing some new medicine in the market, we should not consider them as smart bombs. Instead, we should have some positive vocabulary used for the positivity. Now comes the last point, that what are the key ideas that you must focus on while writing your responses. So here, first thing is the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. And you are considering the two versions of this hypothesis as the stronger and the weaker version, that is the linguistic determinism and the linguistic relativity, as I told you in the beginning of this video. And then you discussed what is the relationship between language and thought. So here you can give such examples like it can stifle creative out-of-box thinking, means if we are using the war metaphors, so it can hinder your creativity, it can suffocate you. So the next thing is what else you should discuss in your response is how the language and semantics of war, like this, how these language and the semantics of war are used in the medical research. For example, you're quoting the examples as given here, smart bombs, elimination, eradication, and the words like that. And the other examples of war metaphors you have to quote in your response. For example, how the war metaphors used in the other fields like sports, business, and the politics. Are they used, and what are the examples? And one thing is important here, that the metaphors, and other term is conceptual metaphor. You must be familiar with this conceptual metaphors too. It was an idea given by Lakoff and Johnson in 1980. So study this concept in detail. There was what was conceptual metaphor? One was a source and the target. The source was the concrete idea, and the target was an abstract idea. So metaphor means that we are considering two different things as one. So just study this conceptual metaphors in detail, which can be included in this response. So you have to quote other examples of conceptual metaphors as well. Okay, you can also discuss how conceptual metaphors can be used to influence thought and to mislead. And one more thing, that other examples of conceptual metaphors from your wider study, it is also needed here. So these are some of the key ideas that that you can include in a good response.